Today on Trucks and Junk, I'm going to show you how to test and replace the battery in your car or truck, and I'm also going to show you how to maintain the memory in the vehicle while doing it. Have you ever woke up in the morning, came out and found this? I'm going to show you how to fix that today. Alright, this is all the tools you're going to need for today's project. You're going to need a small socket set with extensions. You need a small wrench set, multimeter, some jumper leads with the alligator clips on them, and a 9-volt battery. Alright, now I'm going to show you how to test a battery using a multimeter. So we're going to want to use the multimeter and we're going to want to turn it to the 6dV, which is 60 volts DC. You're going to see 0.00 on the multimeter and then a little V after that. We're going to put the positive lead on the positive side of the battery and we're going to put the negative lead on the negative side of the battery. And as you can tell, this battery is only reading 11.66 volts. So now our vehicle's a 12-volt vehicle, so 11.66 volts, even with a full charge, is not quite enough to run this vehicle properly. Alright, now we're going to test the good battery and see what it reads. The good battery reads 12.72, which is a good strong battery for the vehicle. That's what you want to see with a good battery. So if you fully charge your battery and you've only got 11, 10, 9 volts in the battery, that's a bad battery. And if you're reading 12 and up, that's a good battery. Alright guys, after jumping off the vehicle, I'm going to show you how you check your charging system using the same procedure. So you're going to put your negative terminal on your negative side and you're going to put your positive terminal on your positive side. And you should have anywhere between 13 and 15 volts if you have a good charging system. As you can see, mine's doing almost 15 volts because the alternator is trying to make up for the fact that it has a bad battery running. So this is what you want to see. If you have 12 volts at this point, your alternator's not working. And you should check your fuses first and then try to diagnose the alternator. I will be putting out a video on how to diagnose an alternator, so stay tuned. Okay guys, well now we've determined that we have a bad battery, but we don't want to lose our presets in our radio or our memories to our computers. So now I'm going to show you guys a nice little nifty trick on how to keep all this while changing a battery. As you can tell, it's 435. I've got all my preset channels still. Now I'm going to show you how to keep those. Alright, now I'm going to show you how to maintain the power on your vehicle by using the 9-volt battery and the jumper leads. So what we're going to do is we're going to look for a good spot on the vehicle to be able to hook up the positive jumper lead to the vehicle. So for instance, on my truck, I have this battery box to be able to jump off other vehicles. So on my truck, this would be the perfect spot for me to hook up my jumper lead to maintain the memory. If you don't have one of these mounted somewhere on the vehicle, then you can also, if you have access to it, hook it up to the positive terminal on the back side of the alternator, and it's normally covered with a rubber boot, and it's a nut that holds the terminal on. So you can hook it up there if you need to, or if you have a top post battery, then you can just connect it directly to the post, because when you take this off, that little wire will go with the power lead. So the only reason we're using 9 volts is because the vehicle needs 12 volts to operate properly, but it don't need 12 volts to keep memory. 9 volts is more than enough to keep the memory in the vehicle while nothing else is working. So as long as you're not turning on the key or turning on lights, 9 volts is more than enough to keep the memory in the vehicle. Okay, so now that we figured out where I'm going to hook mine up at, I'm going to pop this open and I'm going to keep both terminals in my hand. That way this don't touch anything when I hook it up. And I'm gonna put this on that lead. Okay, and I'm gonna keep this in my hand until I bring over the 9-volt battery. Okay, so now on the 9-volt battery, the round peg is the positive on the battery, and the octagon peg is the negative on the battery. So we'll want to hook the red one to the round peg on the battery. Just like so. Now that we've got that hooked up, now we're going to take the negative jumper lead and we're going to put it anywhere metal on the engine, because the engine is completely grounded. So we're right here, you see where mine says ground, right here beside the alternator. So I'm just going to hook it to that right there because it's a ground, and then I'm going to hook that to the octagon side of the battery. So now I have a 9-volt battery hooked to the truck. So when I unbolt the battery, this will maintain the memory in my truck. So now I'm going to sit this in a safe spot to where it doesn't fall out of the truck. I'm going to sit mine right here on the cowl. And it's a good place for it because it's plastic. I ain't really got to worry about it touching anything metal. So that's where I'm going to sit mine. Alright, now this is how I have it hooked up. I have the positive terminal going to the positive side of the battery, which it's coming down and going to the positive side of the jumper box. And then I've got the negative terminal on the negative side of the battery, and it goes right there to the alternator bracket. So as long as you have them hooked up like this, it'll maintain the memory in your vehicle when you disconnect your battery. So now that we've done that, we're going to start disconnecting the battery. So on this truck that we're doing today, it has a bar that comes across the top of the battery. So I'm going to have to remove that bar to get this battery out. So I'm going to do that with utilizing a 10mm socket and a ratchet. I'm going to loosen up this bolt. And take it out. Now I'm going to loosen up this bolt. Probably going to need an extension for that one because the fender's in the way. And I'm going to take it out. Okay. I'm going to set the parts aside. Okay, now that we got that bar out of the way, I'm going to take the negative battery terminal off. And I'll set it out of the way. And then I'm going to take the positive battery terminal off. But now keep in mind, with the jumper cables that we have on there, you still don't want your wrench to touch anything metal, because the truck is still technically live with the other battery. Alright, now I've got that removed, but I'm going to put it somewhere where it doesn't touch metal. Okay? If you want to, you can wrap this in electrical tape to make sure it don't touch metal. So that's what I'm going to go ahead and do. I'm going to go ahead and wrap it in electrical tape just to make sure it don't touch anything metal, because it's still technically live with that other battery. So just in case when I pick that battery up and this flops over or something, it's not going to touch anything and short out. Alright, next we're going to want to remove that little 10mm bolt right there on the battery hold down. We're going to remove it to remove the battery. We're going to do this by utilizing the 10mm socket, both extensions, and the ratchet. You're going to turn it to the left. These are the same steps for cars and trucks. The only differences that are going to happen is where the hold downs are bolted down, the size of the bolts, and where the batteries are located. If you check with your owner's manual, it'll show you where the battery is located in your vehicle. If you've lost the owner's manual, or your car didn't come with an owner's manual, Google normally knows where these batteries are located on the vehicles. So all you got to ask is Google, where's the battery located on blah blah car. Alright, now that we've removed that bolt, this is what my hold down looks like. Okay, and it's got the bolt that holds it down to the edge of the battery into the tray. Okay, now that that's been removed, we should be able to pull the battery right on up out. Just like that. So all we gotta do is set this in place now. Ta-da. You'll want to make sure that the positive and negative is on the same side as the old battery. Okay, so your battery will indicate negative and positive, just like the old battery did. Okay, now you'll put your battery hold down back in. And tighten it back up. You'll want to make sure this is tight. You don't want the battery coming out if you were in an accident or anything like that. Okay, now that we've put that back in, now we're going to unwrap our positive battery terminal that we wrapped up. Now we're going to hook it back up. Like I said, being extra careful not to touch anything metal with this. You'll start the threads by hand because you don't want to strip out the battery because it's just soft metal, which is lead. It's not very strong. It's very easy to strip out. So you'll want to start it by hand. And you'll turn this to the right to tighten it down. Alright, now the positive terminal's hooked up. Now you'll hook up the negative terminal. Alright, now that you've hooked up your negative terminal, you'll want to put your crossbar back on, if your car has one. Some cars are covered with plastic things. Some cars are covered with these crossbars. Some cars don't have anything over the battery. I like those cars that don't have anything over the battery because it makes it easier on you. But these have crossbars, so we got to put this back on. Starting the bolts with your fingers so you don't strip anything. Utilizing the 10mm socket and ratchet. Tighten them up. Okay, now that we've got the new battery hooked up, we're going to go ahead and unhook the positive terminal off of this battery. And then we're going to unhook the positive terminal out of the jumper box. We're going to set that one aside. And then we're going to unhook the negative terminal off the battery. Set the battery aside. And then we're going to unhook it from the alternator bracket. Now we're we're going to move into the vehicle. We're going to see if my trick worked. As you can tell, clock reads 4:59. It's on the same radio station that it was before. Nothing has changed. Let's make sure the truck starts. Sounded good and strong. Guys, that's it for today's video. I hope it helped you guys out. If you guys liked it, please like and subscribe. I'll see you guys on the next one. Thank you for watching.